Since Disney closed the parks in March, I have now officially canceled 2 trips to Disney World, and it honestly breaks my heart. So to lift my spirits, I've decided to try and add as much Disney magic as I can to my everyday life as possible. And one of the things that I've had an issue with for the last year or so has been in my kitchen. So today's project is DIY etched glass Disney kitchen canisters. I've been doing the whole keto lifestyle for over a year now, and I absolutely love it. It's been fantastic for me, so I definitely plan on moving forward with that in the foreseeable future, but that had some small issues of its own. For one thing, kitchen canister sets are often very cute, but they either are plain or they are labeled with things like flour and sugar that I don't use anymore and don't have in my kitchen. I actually use multiple different types of flour and multiple different sweeteners, but because those tend to be a little more expensive, I also buy them in large quantities to keep expenses down. So the labeled canister sets don't work for me because I don't use the things that they are labeled with, and the plain ones don't work for me because a lot of them will be little tiny canisters that I can't really use very well. But on a recent Costco run to stock up, we saw these adorable mason jar brand canisters, and they were a 3-pack for I think like $8. Complete bargain. I liked the size of them, that they were big enough to hold a reasonable amount of product, but not so massive that they're going to take up the entire counter space. But of course, I wouldn't be me if I just put some plain little thing out on my cabinets and countertops. I have to jazz them up a little bit. So on my quest to add more Disney to my life, I decided to use glass etching cream and put some Disney images on the 3 canisters. I'm not actually labeling each one with any sort of typography or words. I am going to know what is in each of these because they're fairly distinctive and they're clear, so I can see what's in them without having to open them up each time. So I'm just going to choose 3 adorable little images. So I've decided to go with Mickey and Minnie on the ends and have a cute little Cinderella's castle in the center. The materials for this project are pretty simple, and you can very easily customize this to whatever sort of theme or style that you're wanting. It's pretty easy to work with these things, and everything's pretty easy to find. If you don't find the exact canisters that I have, that's fine. Etching Cream works on any and all glass, so you can pick up something cheap at the dollar store or wherever, whatever you find that fits the look that you're going for, but you just want to jazz it up a little. So for 3 jars, I'm picking 3 images and where I want to put them on the jar. I want to have this sitting flat, not angled, so that will give me this whole big side to put an image on that will be facing out towards my kitchen. I love that the lids say the Mason and then they say Americana vintage style because that's so very like Disney and Mickey Mouse to me. I absolutely love it. I think it's very on brand with the rest of the Disney aspect here. I picked up this etching cream at Walmart, but you can find it at all different kinds of craft stores and sections, and online of course. And I'm using a disposable foam brush because I have found that the cream is a little hard sometimes to get out of my good paintbrushes, so this way I can just get rid of this brush when I'm done with this project. I used my Cricut to cut 3 vinyl stencils, but you could also use pre-purchased ones. Then you'll want some rubbing alcohol or nail polish remover or acetone to clean off the glass. That will remove any dirt or oil, even if it's brand new from the packaging. There will be some fingerprints on it from handling the actual glass. This will clean everything off nicely and the vinyl will stick and you'll end up with a much better end product. So I cleaned the entire section where my vinyl is going to go with my nail polish remover and then made sure to let it dry really well. Because I'm working on a round surface, of course, a flat piece of vinyl isn't going to just lay down super easy and nicely on the first try. So I started with Mickey's face because I felt that that was the most important part of the image visually to get nice and smooth and perfect. Then working out from there, I adjusted and tugged the vinyl to get everything as close to flat as I could, all on its own. If you're at all familiar with pattern making and clothing, this is sort of like adding in darts to take out extra fullness. I find it best to cut the vinyl somewhere where you're going to go into a point or a straighter edge, somewhere that it'll be easier to sort of mask that you're going to be changing the outline, especially if it's an area where I'm trying to take out a larger piece of vinyl. For instance, in the big smooth curve of Mickey's ear, it's better to do smaller cuts if you have to do any. If you could get away without doing any, that would be ideal, but that's not really going to work with the round nature here. So smaller cuts when possible, or making sure that you overlap very neatly. If you do end up with a little bit of excess, like poking down when you lay the vinyl flat, you can use your knife to cut off anything that's sticking down into the area that you want to etch. Then anywhere where you don't have a lot of extra vinyl going past your design, or anywhere where your cuts into the vinyl to make it lay flat have not overlapped super well, and you might have a area of exposed glass, cover those areas with your tape just to make sure that any of your etching product doesn't get onto the area where it's not supposed to. Different brands of the etching cream can be different, so be sure to follow the instructions on your packaging. Mine said to have a thick, even coat and to let it sit for 15 minutes. I have found it definitely better to make sure that you have a pretty thick coat down. If you go too skimpy on the product, you're not going to get a good result. This is a chemical reaction, so if you don't have enough of the chemical, you're not going to get enough reaction, and you're going to end up with a very lightly etched section, or it might be kind of blotchy and not a solid sort of foggy white. I've actually used that to my advantage before to make something look like frost on a piece of glass, but typically I want a more even sort of white, so definitely make sure you aren't skimping on the product. Then I just set the jar aside and let the cream do its work. Then follow your product's instructions for rinsing. I use a brush to speed things along, but I'm pretty gentle with it to keep from smushing it down underneath my stencil. Don't be afraid if at first the design doesn't look very obvious while the glass is wet. It doesn't show up super well. Then just peel off your stencils and dry the glass off. And boom! I love it. I think it's so cute. So as you can see, it's a pretty simple process. It doesn't take a lot of really fancy different products. It just is a little bit finicky and a little bit time consuming, but if you really take your time with your stencil, then the rest of it is really simple and you can get some really fun, unique, and custom pieces. I like that all of my jars have a different design, but they clearly all go together, and I think they're just adorable. So in the end, I have Minnie looking at Mickey with the castle in between, and I love them. Don't they just look so cute together? And they're a nice, classy bit of Disney added to my kitchen. I am super happy with how these turned out. I think they're very cute, a little bit understated, so it's very cutesy Disney, but not like bright and cartoony and over the top. Love these for my kitchen. If you found this video helpful and inspiring, I hope you will like down below, and remember to subscribe and ring the bell for notifications. I upload a new video every Monday and Thursday. Have a beautiful day, and I'll see you next time.